Good evening. Yes, it's Wednesday again. It's 8 p.m. and we are the Gun Cranks. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, along with Tom McHale, who's the editor of American Handgunner, and the venerable and scholarly Roy Huntington. Hello, gentlemen.
I was going to say high mileage.
Yeah, I was going to say I've been venerable or called worse words than that, though. Yeah.
Ah, very good. Well, you know, we really focus on having fun doing this, but I'm going to throw the floor to Roy. You've got unique guns behind you. It's not your normal picture behind you. Why don't you explain that just real quick to the folks?
Well, I appreciate Brent. I had a dear friend, Terry Tussey of Tussey Custom, and he's in actually our last issue of American Handgunner magazine. These are sort of retro guns that he built. Oh, see if you could see them. There we go. They look like pretty minty 1911s kind of military guns, but they're not. They were actually current production guns. But Terry passed away from pneumonia. He was a long-time fight with being wheelchair bound from an injury he got some 15 years ago. But he was a tough bird, and like the doctor said, Terry, everybody else would have been dead in 8 years. It took Terry 15 years. So he passed away. I'll be mentioning a little something about it in my next Insider column and stuff. And so, hats off to Terry. Yeah, it was a pretty good run, and we'll miss him.
Yeah, definitely.
So, thank you.
Well, let's get back on to the little more light stuff. I think today will be a fun one. We're going to talk about the top 5 gun myths as chosen by our cast of characters here. And we're going to talk about the misconceptions of firearms. Some of them held by avid shooters, some of them held by folks that have never even touched a gun. Unfortunately, that includes a lot of our incoming administration. So leaving that where it is. So guys,
not counting shotguns.
Not
Joe's up there on shotguns.
the knee. And you've seen that target, the Joe Biden qualification target. It's just the lower torso with the 9 ring being the kneecap. So,
that's great.
So our first gun myth we're going to talk about is nobody needs an assault rifle. And I'm not talking about the Bidens and the Beto O'Rourke's of the world. This is a personal peeve of mine. It's the great FUD versus everybody else. And if you're not familiar with that, a FUD is in reference to Elmer Fudd, meaning a guy that just hunts. And we've all heard this a lot. Well, I just hunt, deer, and I got a shotgun. Nobody needs those black rifles. Well, guys, where do we start on this?
We start with the media.
Yeah.
Hats off to the media, because they have done a masterful job of making everyone in the planet think that a black rifle is a machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate it, but wow, they have convinced and continue to convince everyone that that's the case. Amazing.
It's a bit of that, if it bleeds, it leads kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Just you hear the word machine gun. I like it when there's like a report of a knife of stabbing, but they run a picture of a gun behind the reporter.
Well,
a
he
murder
might have
in
had
the seat tonight.
He wanted to have a gun, right?
Yeah.
When he
I
stabbed
think,
the other guy.
Well, I think we have to look at our own industry, though, and accept a part of that guilt, though, because we had a very famous gun writer, TV starry, outdoor huntery kind of guy some years ago who basically said that very thing. He said, oh, we don't need those AR-15 guns. They're stupid. And we'll cue the crickets. His TV show got dropped from all the gun magazines he wrote for. It took him about 5 or 6 hard years to come back, eating crow the entire way. And
still to this day, because I mentioned that writer on a show not too long ago, and our own Dave Workman is a good friend of his, and he carries the banner for him. But even he admits, man, he really, his friend screwed his career up pretty badly, and but I think that highlights where he was just flat wrong. Especially now in our new age of this incoming administration. On the Second Amendment, we've all got to be on this together, because if you think they're just going after black rifles, you're insane. They want your gun, and they want your deer shotgun, and they want your lever action, and et cetera, et cetera. So we got to be in this together.
I think the way
it's
to
all
do
very
it,
intentional.
Yeah, it's
the whole. If it fires more than one
conquer.
shot, it's in the category.
Yep.
And I think eventually, if it fires one shot, it'll be in the category.
Yeah.
I think let's give them a tool, though, or our shooters a tool. If you don't like to shoot AR-15s, if you don't even like AR-15s or black rifles. That's fine. But all you need to say is, well, I prefer shotguns and I enjoy single shot muzzle loading, revolver or muzzle loading rifles. And I don't really have any need for the black rifles. I can see where that could be interesting for people, though. That's all. There you go. Your opinion's out there, but otherwise, because how would they feel if somebody said muzzle loaders are stupid and we don't need them, we should ban them all? It's like, well,
we continue to eat our young, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah, we eat.
We're so busy fighting with each other in the gun community that we're getting our butt kicked far too often.
So don't be a tool of the mainstream media. That's all we got to say. So let's go to number 2. And I love this one. Suppressors are just for criminals.
Well, yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Everybody knows that, right? And if you've never shot a suppressor, first of all, they're not like Hollywood. They do make a little bit of noise, but they're for hearing protection and to keep the complaints down from the neighbors, the anti-gun neighbors about, I hear gunfire. It solves that problem. And there was a great line in our recent Guns magazine, and I think it was Wayne Van Zal, who pointed out he was hunting in Scotland and they had suppressed rifles. And he mentioned, well, that's kind of a hot topic in America. And he goes, don't you Yanks have mufflers on your cars?
Yeah. It was Dave Anderson. I know
that's
what you
who
mean.
it was. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Hey,
he
I
was
want to drop a truth bomb. If you ever get into an argument about suppressors, or you have the opportunity and people say, oh, it just hides, it allows more crime and this and that. Here's a truth bomb. You don't have to remember decibels and logarithmic sound scales and all that stuff. Remember this one thing: a suppressed gun of any kind is louder than a jackhammer. A jackhammer clocks in at about 115 decibels, as does a Van Halen concert. Well, I guess I should pick a different band now, but as does a loud Megadeth concert, and not even close. So if you think a jackhammer going off next to you is quiet, then that is true. Suppressors are silent. So
it's that whole divide and conquer thing. Suppressors make it easier to shoot in proximity to people and protects your hearing. So people that are sensitive to recoil and muzzle blast, it helps them shoot. So I think the anti-gunners realize not a lot of people use them. So if they make them, off limits, a nasty, terrible thing that criminals are going to use, then it'll be pretty easy to get legislation to make them just go away, especially in the current administration. And there's nothing further from the truth. They're doing what they are doing with black rifles, which is just spinning it. And they're dividing more of our, like Tom said, we're eating our own, we're fighting, and we should embrace all of this together.
Yep.
Well, and thank you, TVs and movies, because all the way back to the 30s and 40s, when somebody would pull a little pen-sized suppressor out of his pocket and screw it onto his revolver, and it would go thump, thump.
Piff, piff, piff.
Yeah, and he would always be a criminal, a bad criminal.
Yeah.
And so, so everyone, the non-shooting public, just think, oh no, those are all used by criminals. What would be interesting, I remember I did this one time, but I don't really recall the data, although it was infinitesimal, which is a big word for me to use, but the actual documented usages of a suppressor in any kind of crime, it's virtually non-existent.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that it also makes your gun bigger. If you put a suppressor on a handgun, it's like you've got this, baseball bat now that you're trying to put in your pocket.
It's a concealment challenge. I mean,
it's a concealment
a 9
challenge.
millimeter suppressor is still that long. So
yeah, so you double the size of a handgun.
Going off screen here.
Yeah.
So don't fall for the suppressor nonsense. They're just good fun and they protect your hearing, but they do tie into point number 3, which is, this is my favorite on the entire list. Guns make people fly backwards when they get shot.
That's what I say. Yep.
We've all seen it through the saloon window, through the bar, through the back wall of the building, across the canyon, and the guy is standing there going, yeah, I got the Black Bart, didn't I?
Yeah.
Tom, you're the physics guy.
Yeah.
Explain this.
Okay, let's go non-physics for a second.
Okay.
Why do we pass this stuff around? And I mean any of it. Like all of these gun counter myths are so easy to prove or disprove. Go try it. Right? I mean, take something outside, take a steel plate. Ever shot a plate rack? Those weigh about 3 pounds each for a 6-inch plate. And as we all know, if you hit it just right, it'll fall over, but not every time. 3 pounds. Come on, people.
Come on,
Take
people.
something to the range and shoot at it and see what happens, you know? We actually, it's funny, that brings up a fun story. We were disproving this myth for the 400 millionth time. And I went out and I bought a 25-pound bag of sand. And I had an old bullet resistant vest, and I stuck it on the bag of sand so we could, quote unquote, capture all of the energy of the bullet, right? So it wouldn't just pass through. And so we're shooting this sandbag with everything under the sun, from 22 to 9 to 40, 45 AR. That we kind of had some containment problems with that one with the vest.
I was going to say,
but finally, to even barely tip the 25-pound bag of sand, it took a 12 gauge slug moving at 1,600 feet per second, and it was like one of those slow motion movies, like. So it didn't exactly fly through the plate glass window.
Well, you know, we talked about this once before, and I remember I explained the doctor who explained that reaction that we get, you know, of people, and you do see some movies like that, or, you know, where video of somebody getting shot and they go, ugh, you know, and they fall back. Although most people, I've seen a couple people get shot, and we've all seen videos and stuff. It's like you pull their plug and they suddenly have no bones in their body. They just crumple straight down. Well, he said, what happens if you get stuck in the butt with a pin? And he said, you go, whoa, you know, you jump and, you know, and he said, that's what's happening a lot of times when somebody gets shot. He said, it's just like you stuck them with a pin and they're reacting to that pain. It's not the bullet knocking them down on the ground or something. And so that is just such a great analogy. And so just remember that. So just,
you know, Roy, we've talked about this. Both of us have seen people shot on numerous occasions, being retired police officers. And you're right. They either crumple, and sometimes to a completely survivable wound. It's, I've been shot, I need to collapse now. So there's psychology involved. But really, wouldn't you agree, what normally happens is they run. Even if they are dead on their feet, they run. So you generally, you know, find them 100 yards down the street or whatever. So I've yet to see anybody go through a saloon window that they didn't launch there themselves.
Well, you know, and we had one where cops shot this guy with a 9mm 2 or 3 times. And it was on video because there was a camera crew there riding along or something. And it was like, pow, pow, pow. And this guy drops his gun and he goes, hey, man, stop shooting me. And it was, I mean, you know, nobody fell down, nobody ran away, nobody, he just sat down and he just like, he was going, man, why'd you shoot me?
Stop.
And, I know, stop shooting me.
Yeah.
Well, the cop said, well, I can't say what the cop said. Never mind.
Well, but that wasn't a 45 though, right?
Yeah, if it had been a 45, he would have knocked
I mean,
back.
well, clearly, I mean, we got to preface this whole discussion does not apply with a 45.
It's the ultimate man stopper.
45 hardball. Yeah.
And you know, this raises a good point of anything you see in TV. It's very simple. Stop and think, why did they do that? Why did they do things like put a gun up next to their face? You know, with sometimes with their finger on the trigger. Why do they?
It's the high Sabrina. Don't forget, that's what they call
the
that.
full Sabrina.
That never gets old.
Yeah. Or they send people flying through the window. Or my other favorite is when, you know, the guy is shooting like a 38 snubby and it's got a muzzle blast that goes out like 18 feet. Why do they do that? It's very simple. It's dramatic. And what is TV? It is a quote unquote drama.
It's TV. It's
so,
TV. Yeah.
You know, an actual gunfight.
You're saying they embellish.
They embellish just.
It's hard to believe. I realize that, Tom.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. Yeah.
It's good to know. I see. I learned something today.
Yeah. If you look at videos of actual gunfights on the street, and there are plenty of those on YouTube, they're very dramatic to the people downrange and firing, but to the bystanders, they're not that spectacular. So Hollywood and television has to ramp them up. So,
and they're over fast.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop. Okay, we're done. You know, yeah. And
I was
usually
watching
all the
Western the other day, and it was, I don't know how, first of all, they had the 12 shots single action army, and this gunfight must have gone on for 17 minutes. It's like somebody put everybody out of their misery. Come on, people.
And they go like that when they shoot. They go,
yeah.
Well, you get extra velocity.
Yeah.
Well, the gunfight at the OK Corral, the world's most famous gunfight. Okay. of all time had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 participants. They shot 31 total rounds and it went for 27 seconds, which was a really long gunfight, you know.
Yeah.
But there you go, 27 seconds and an eternity of history.
How many plate glass windows in Tombstone were destroyed?
And if you watch the movie, you'll see them fly back from getting hit with the shotgun.
That's what I mean.
That. Yeah, lots.
So TV movies, it's not real. Sorry. So we'll go on, and this is kind of a TV thing too, but I also hear this at gun counters a lot, and especially with shooters that should know better, is you can't, this is number 4, you can't miss with a shotgun. And if you've ever done any patterning,
yeah, I can too.
Yeah. Well, exactly. We've all missed it. But what I'm talking about is people say in a home defense situation, you know, I just get a shotgun and I just point it and, you know, the bad guy magically evaporates. And if you've done any patterning on almost any shotgun other than maybe a real short barrel one, you're only talking a fist size pattern, maybe a plate size pattern across the room, but that would be exceptional. Mostly you're getting those kind of patterns with a shotgun across the room of any.
We did a video on
patterning. Do you mean like actually, does that mean like going to the range and trying it yourself rather than passing on the myth?
Well, you don't even have to do that because we did the video. We have a video on our YouTube channel in the insider tips, and it's it's birdshot versus buckshot. And so just look for it, and there it is right there. You like, I think we shot it like at 7 yards or something, and it's got that fist size rat hole wound from the shot, you know, just blowing out the center of the target. And
yeah.
Hey, I've got a surprising story. We Beretta had a writers event some years ago, and it was a tactical event up at Academy, the old Blackwater place. And so yeah, it was a bunch of us, you know nothing yahoos at a serious training place. But besides that, we were messing around with smoothbore shotguns. It was their 1301 tactical shotgun, no chokes, no nothing. And we were shooting Federal flight control wad, 12 gauge buckshot. You know, I don't remember if it was an 8 or 9 pellet load, but we started out 3 yards. And we backed up and backed up and backed up just to see what the pattern was. We got to 75 yards, 75, almost 100. And all pellets, most shots were still on a silhouette target.
Wow.
A standard silhouette target, 75 yards. So tell me you don't need to aim that.
Exactly. You're right. They developed that for SWAT teams and to use buckshot basically as a close range sniper rifle that pretty much puts a period on whatever it is you're shooting at, you know.
That's kind of an oxymoron there, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. But you're right. And people think that with a shotgun that's how it is. You don't have to aim. That's the other one. You know, oh no, you don't have to aim. You just hold it down there. We've shot really short barreled, what do they call those? NSF shot, NFA. Illegal shotgun, NFA shotguns. Yeah. That had like 10-inch barrels and 8-inch barrels and 12-inch barrels, little short pump guns. And they were actually still same thing, Brent. They at 5 or 7 yards, they were still just full fist-sized groups.
Yep.
You know,
I was the last guy on my department when we went to patrol rifles, because I'm old enough to know, you know, when we went from shotguns to patrol rifles, I held on to my, I think it was a 10-inch 870, because it was such a wonderful weapon operating in the confines of like a trailer or something like that. And my point was, I can put an ounce of buckshot, you know, across the room and still, you know, put a hole like that versus the patrol rifle. And I'm not against patrol rifles, and I'm not bringing up that whole, you know,
so you don't like black rifles?
I love black rifles. I like.
You have an issue with assault rifles?
Black rifle,
or assault weapons.
Yeah,
it's the wrong word. Assault weapon is the wrong word, right?
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, my point being, you know, the same thing though, across the room, even with a 10-inch barrel and without flight control wads, you're still going to put it into a little bitty hole. So aiming is important.
Which brings up the high cap magazine part of this equation too.
True.
So, I've got an AR-15. I have 20 rounds. I can't miss. Yes, you can. Yeah, we've all done it. Yep. You know, I was at a writers event one time, and there was a 100-yard steel plate that you had to take out with a AR-15, and that was part of this little competition we were doing. And so I ran up and sat down with the rifle and rested it and aimed and took a shot and hit the plate, right? So I was done, dropped the rifle, ran on the next thing. Meanwhile, the person at the other thing, he lay down, he started going bang, 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 bang. He was just like opened up on it, right?
Yeah.
And missed it clean. 20-round magazine, absolutely missed it. I remember the spotters were watching and they went, "You haven't hit it yet." Meanwhile, I'm done with whatever I was, doing.
Well,
So
and it
there
raises
you
the
go.
point too that the bad guy's name is on the front of that bullet and your name's on the back. So you drop, 20 rounds at a bad guy and you only hit him once. Where are the rest of those rounds going? With my luck, it's usually into a busload of hemophiliac nuns and orphans.
It's true.
It's not good.
Yeah.
You got to aim. So
That's
Roy,
funny.
I love that deadpan from the safety officer following you around on a stage of fire like that. Well, nope, haven't hit it yet.
Haven't hit it yet. These guys they both, I remember they lowered their binocular, they said, "You haven't hit it yet."
Keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into number 5 now. And this is one that we'll try to have some fun with it, but it just boils my shorts. That's a weird analogy, and it's really being perpetrated by the mainstream media now, because of course we all know old white guys are the devil, but they're going after firearms by saying gun owners are all old white guys and we're ist and, blah, blah, blah. And we don't want you on the range. We don't want minorities or women or young people to own guns. It's an exclusive club for old white guys. And that's what gun owners are. And yes, a lot of older white males own guns, but I would hope that we all know it's true. That it's not true. And we need to all be ambassadors. I don't care if you're 92 years old, if you're a white guy, reach out to people and welcome folks, because in teaching, I found so many folks that maybe didn't fit the gun owner mold, and you get them in a class and they suddenly discover, hey, these guys are all right. Gun people are cool people, regardless of color, age, sex, whatever. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Period, though. But you're right. I have never been refused help or a welcome at a range that I've been on, this day before yesterday, we had a young millennial woman and her husband here, first time deer hunter. And we made her welcome, got her set up, helped her stock, helped her get a first doe. It absolutely was. She was so excited. And she said similar things. It was just like, this is really fun. And everybody, you guys were all so nice. I can't thank you enough. It's like, well, that's how it is, Yeah. And actually, with what we just get 4 million new shooters or 6 million new shooters in the last year. Well, according to the stats, I mean, right off the top, it's like 35% are women. And then there's a huge number of minorities and people of color and whatnot. So we have this huge influx in our community. And I have not heard a single person on our side of the fence going, "Oh, heck." Everyone's been going, "Cool. Welcome to the club."
4 or 6 million?
Yeah.
CNN said 7.
Oh, well, see,
7 people.
Oh, 7 people. There's 7 new gun owners this year.
So okay, so it's probably more than that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, 7 or 8 or 9. Yeah.
Hey, but seriously, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I go to a range quite frequently, just for quick and dirty stuff. It's run by the state DNR, so it's a really nice outdoor facility. The number of women there every time I go has exploded this year. I mean, so many more than before. Big changes going on.
Yep. And I will say too, we've all seen the crusty old guy, whether he's white or not, but crusty old white guy at the range who isn't welcoming, and it's not even a matter of age or skin color or gender. It's just, he's a crusty old guy. And we've all seen it, right? Don't be that guy.
Could be at the gas station.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be anywhere. Yeah.
Right now we are under a microscope, and whatever you do to not help shooting sports and the Second Amendment is going to be magnified 10,000 times. So don't be that guy, gal.
That's the get off my lawn guy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That guy. I know him.
I'm going to stop on
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Was there any other myths that we need to debunk now before we? wrap things up.
There's so many. We could make this show go for days, probably.
Oh, I got one quick one. Ready?
Uh-oh.
When you shoot a rifle, the bullet goes perfectly flat,
right,
all the way out to however far it goes.
It rises.
Yeah. Or it rises. Yeah, that's another one. People say, oh, it leaves the muzzle and then it rises and then goes back down. No, it doesn't. The Mythbuster did a really good one where they set up this little jig thing to where, so they dropped the bullet at the same time they fired their Garand horizontally across the desert, and were able to recover the fired round. And yes, both bullets hit the ground at exactly the same time, which boggles people's minds. But so your
physics.
Bullet doesn't rise.
I think Wayne Newton taught us that, right?
It's physics.
The corollary, and I've told the story before, I argued with a guy who should know better, and he was trying to explain to me how the velocity reaches its peak like at 10 feet from the muzzle. It's like, how does that work unless it is a rocket propelled bullet? But he got all wrapped around the axle because the line of sight and the bullet path does tend to arc in most scope sighted, well, any rifle for that matter. But it's not because the bullet's doing that. It's because the way you've set up the scope and the two lines intersected, yada, yada, yada. But he somehow in his head was just convinced, and probably to this day will not accept the fact that it's faster 10 feet out from the muzzle than at the muzzle. It's like, read a physics.
That's an easy one to disprove. Go try it, right?
Yeah. Set your chronograph up. You might want a blast shield.
I have one of those lab radars, Doppler radar things, that gives you the velocity as it shoots down. So I promise you, in a Roy Backyard video, I will actually do that. We'll actually track the velocity as it goes down. So I think that'd be pretty interesting.
So we can find the peak velocity, how many ever feet out from the muzzle it is.
And I'm going to lie and say it's 10 feet out.
Well, cool.
Hey, nothing like starting a new myth, right?
That's right.
Hey, we could be the gun Mythbusters.
No, let's not. Yeah.
That's been done.
It sounds like a lot of work to me.
It does. It does. Well, guys, any final relevant thoughts as we finish our top 5 gun myths?
Nothing I say is relevant usually, so let's not.
Well, we appreciate everybody joining us.
Pass it on. Go test it.
Yeah, exactly.
Try it yourself. It's usually a pretty easy thing.
Test it yourself. Don't fall prey to the myths being perpetrated by our friends, quote unquote, in the mainstream media, and be a good example of gun owners and Second Amendment advocates. And every one of us have to do that now. So make sure you check us out on our social media platforms. You check out gunsmagazine.com and americanhandgunner.com. And Tom, real quick, we hadn't talked about this, but I'm kind of throwing it to you. We're exploring alternative social media because
we are. It sounds subversive, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I know Rumble, we've got videos going up there. We're working on MeWe and what's the other one? Parler. And I don't think we have our company up yet on Parler, but we've individually.
If you don't want to be subject of shadow banning and censorship and all that stuff, you can find us on MeWe. You can find us on rumble.com. All our Gun Cranks videos are going to go there too. And find us on Parler, Parler.
Exactly. And we've been sounding this alarm for a couple of months now, and it's happening. We're not, guys, maybe that ought to be our next show. We actually give some examples of what's going on, but there's going to be a concerted effort to silence all of us and the entire industry. It's happening. We can show it. So one way to combat that is by subscribing to Guns Magazine and AmericanHandgunner.com. And as of yet, they've not tried to ban mailboxes. So
or email. Well, actually, some companies are banning email, but not ours. So
exactly. So
anyway, get our emails. Subscribe.
We're sounding the alarm. Make sure you follow us and share us, and just let the corporate overlords know that you're a proud gun owner and you're not going to take this anymore. So anyway, guys, have a great night. We've had fun here, and reach out to us, editor at AmericanHandgunner.com and gunsmagazine.com. Let us know what you want to hear, what you feel like, what you don't feel like, and we will address that in future shows. So on behalf of Tom McHale and Roy Huntington, I'm Brent Wheat. Hope you guys have a great night. Get out there and get shooting.